While America has nowhere near as many themed roller coasters as Europe, we have Disney, we have Universal, and we have some other really well-themed coasters at other parks. So today, let's look at the thrill coasters of the United States of America and count down the 15 best themed ones. And in case you're wondering about the family coasters, that'll be coming up in my next video. Number 15, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. While the shed has been a little bit disappointing, this GCI wood coaster that opened in 2017 still has a story behind it. You enter the ride through the abandoned Miami River Lumber Company, which has been abandoned due to a mysterious and dangerous force. Fines have overtaken the area, and at the end of the ride, you go into the shed and see a monster on a screen. It's not nearly as much as we'd hoped, but it's still a nice touch, and it's cool that Kings Island gave this ride a full, in-depth story. Plus, this ride looks really good too. A lot of people say this is the best GCI, at least in America. Number 14, Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. Admittedly, the story for this mock multi-launch is a bit odd. There's a lot of theming in the queue as you enter Granny Bird's farm. She makes prize-winning jam. However, after you go through the JoJo roll and enter the show building, you realize that it's actually a moonshine operation. The train launches and you escape into your 3,200-foot long, 50-mile-an-hour, 5-inversion mock multi-launch layout. This looks like a great coaster, however, the name is a bit misleading. For a coaster called Copperhead Strike, there's not much about snakes in this ride. Number 13, Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. We go to Hershend for another mock multi-launch. This time though, it's one of their extreme spinners. A father and a daughter, Charles and Emmeline Henry, set out to make a time machine to make the world a better place. This coaster is that time machine, and after you pass through a bunch of clocks on the second level of the queue house, the third level features gears above the station. This is a really cool steampunk vibe, and those trains are excellent as well, very ornate and very detailed. Then, the ride itself is said to be one of the craziest coasters in America. A coaster that would probably be good if it didn't spin, but because it does, it makes it even crazier. Number 12, Poltergeist at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This ride got a massive facelift a couple of years ago. If this list had been made before that facelift, it would not have made the list, but now it's a really nice themed attraction. When you go to ride Poltergeist, the first part of the queue takes place in the cemetery. I know, uplifting, right? From here, you enter the haunted house, and this is a really nicely themed section of the queue. There's a lot of detail to look at, and the station is one of the better themed stations, not just in America, but I would argue in the world. They did a really nice job. There's no real theming during the ride, but that queue is definitely enough to place it on the list. Number 11, Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, also at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This coaster is steampunk themed. Man, I wish there were more steampunk themed rides out there. You're boarding Dr. Diabolical's machine. She is trying to capture the essence of human adrenaline and fear, and that's further enforced during the ride when, before the second drop, you hear her telling the train via speaker, "Scream, scream." This ride also has a full pre-show and a couple of robot animatronics. Overall, really nice job here by Fiesta Texas. This is a park that really cares about their rides and how they look. Number 10, the Incredible Hulk Coaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. This coaster is an absolute classic, an opening day attraction for the park back in 1999 and one of the more iconic coasters in the world. Admittedly, it's possible that I'm placing this a bit too high, because I haven't ridden the Incredible Hulk, and footage of the queue and station is very rare because you have to put your things in lockers. For that reason, it's possible that some of the coasters earlier in this list actually might have better theming. It's just really hard to say. If you've ridden Incredible Hulk, let me know down in the comment section below. After you enter the Gamma Accelerator, you hear a female voice say, "Initiating Gamma Exposure, Hulk Transformation, Accelerating, do not be afraid." Then you launch up to 40 miles an hour. This kicks off your iconic 7-inversion long course. Number 9, the Incredicoaster at Disney's California Adventure. Now here's one I have ridden many times. This is a coaster though that isn't nearly as well themed as it could have been if it opened up as the Incredicoaster. But remember, when it opened in 2001, it was California Screamin', so the Incredicoaster theming was slapped on later. Considering that, I think they did a decent job. The theming in the queue isn't too much to shout at, but there are a couple of animatronics at the beginning and end of the ride. The best thing this coaster does though in regard to theming is the onboard audio. The onboard music and narration is excellent as you help the Incredibles track down Jack Jack. Overall, while this coaster isn't nearly as elaborate as some of the other ones on this list, it's still definitely plus by its theming. Number 8, Flight of Fear at both Kings Island and Kings Dominion. When these coasters originally opened, it was during the Paramount days, and they were themed to the Outer Limits. In fact, they were called the Outer Limits Flight of Fear. You get to this coaster by entering a hangar bay, passing an alien UFO. This ride reminds me a lot of Space Mountain. As you enter on and eventually reach the station, you see these aliens wrapped up in cases. This is where you launch up to 54 miles an hour into your 4 inversion course. Number 7. Mystery Mine at Dollywood. We go back to Herschend, this time to their other crown jewel, Dollywood, for Mystery Mine, and as you might guess, this coaster takes place around an abandoned mine. A creepy bird animatronic greets you as you enter the queue line, just setting the stage for what you're about to experience. Before your first lift, you have to avoid some obstacles within the mine. Then when you reach your second lift, you're lifted vertically towards a screen showing a thunderstorm, and before your big finale, there's a fireball effect. After the effect, you drop down into your double inversion finale. Mystery Mine saves its best for last, but you know what? Its theming might be the best part. Number 6. Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney's Hollywood Studios. This Vekoma launch coaster is themed around Aerosmith, and after going through the queue, featuring a lot of nice props, you have a pre-show telling the ride's story. You board your supersized limo in the back alley and have to race to get to the concert in time. Like Incredicoaster, this is a ride that would not be the same without its onboard audio. Rock music isn't really my forte, but it really works well here on this one. And while the props that you pass during the ride are on the cheaper side, I think they work, and the darkened environment with specific lighting works well. Number 5. Jurassic World Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. This is one of my top bucket list coasters, not just in America, but in the world. It looks so well rounded from a layout perspective, and then you throw the theming in there and it looks world class. Velocicoaster has theming in the queue line, including Raptor animatronics. This sets the stage for the world-class coaster. After going through the Raptor paddock to start the ride, it heats up in the second half and you go through that top hat and the rest of the layout. Number 4. Tron Light Cycle Run at Disney's Magic Kingdom. This is a pretty new ride, opening up in 2023. It's cool by day, but by night, it's stunning. That lighting package manages to be more futuristic than the rest of Tomorrowland combined. This coaster mostly takes place indoors. There's that one outdoor turn at the start that if you ride at night is absolutely incredible, but then you go inside for the rest of the experience as you go throughout the grid. There's some very clever lighting and mirror effects to go along with the onboard audio score. Overall, Tron is a visual spectacle and one of the more thrilling coasters Disney has ever built. Number 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, located at Epcot. Spoiler alert, it's Disney and Universal the rest of the way. This coaster cost $500 million. That's the reported figure, which makes it the world's most expensive roller coaster ever built. For that money, you better theme it up, and give them credit, they did. In a lot of ways, it's kinda similar to Tron. The main difference between the two is the fact that Cosmic Rewind is a spinning coaster. You join the Guardians of the Galaxy in this time travel adventure. It's also kinda similar to Space Mountain, as for the majority of the ride, you're spinning throughout the stars. It's really cool. There are also multiple wraparound screens. These are pretty impressive and they drive the story forward. For physical effects, you spin past the Earth and the Moon. This is probably my favorite part. Number 2, Revenge of the Mummy, located at both Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Florida. This is yet another indoor launch coaster. This one just has a bit more of a creepy theme than the previous two. After an eerie queue line and station, you go through a couple of dark ride scenes, setting the tone. Come to find out, Imhotep wants your soul, and so you have to launch away to escape. Your journey is not without incident though, and he chases you all the way to the end. I've only ridden the version at Universal Studios Hollywood, and the layouts between the two are different, but the story is the same. I really enjoyed Revenge of the Mummy. And coming in at number 1 is Expedition Everest at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Now, the question in my mind was, is this a thrill coaster or is this a family coaster? This is definitely borderline. I would actually call it a family thrill coaster, but that isn't really that helpful for the sake of these videos. Because it has a somewhat intense backwards helix, a top speed of 50 miles an hour, and an 80-foot drop, I decided to put it in the thrill coaster category. Regardless, Expedition Everest is a very well themed attraction. It all starts in the queue. There's a lot to look at in the queue, and it tells the story of the Yeti. There's so many details in here, you would definitely need multiple rides to fully appreciate it. After that backwards helix, you come face to face with the Yeti for the first time, and then drop 80 feet, going 50 miles an hour. The whole coaster takes place in this elaborately themed mountain. This coaster is said to have cost $100 million, which at the time was the most expensive coaster in the world. It's very immersive, and I think it's a really good ride. So there you have it, the 15 best themed roller coasters in the US. Let me know where I could have gone wrong in the comment section below, or what I got right. I've ridden a handful of these, but for the majority of them, I'm basing it off of video and what I've heard from other coaster enthusiasts, and that can be a difficult thing to do. So let me know down in the comment section below, and I appreciate you all for stopping by. Thank you all for watching. Tune back in soon for the best themed family coasters in the US. We'll see you then.